Good afternoon, everybody. My name's Quentin, and I'm an alcoholic. I've got a God-given sobriety date of February 23rd, 2011, and for that gift, I'm truly grateful. First of all, I want to do something a little weird, maybe. Who's got a year or less? Raise your hand, not to embarrass you. Who's got 11 months or less? 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3 months or less. 2, 1. What you got, ma'am? What's your name? Shady.
And I'm an alcoholic.
Welcome. The rest of y'all, I'm pretty much going to communicate with Shady now. So the rest of y'all, you're old timers, you can criticize me after the meeting and everything. Glad you're here. All the 1 year and less, congratulations. Welcome home. So that's what I'm supposed to do here, right? Oh, this thing has a little timer on it. Thank you. That's awesome. I don't even have to start mine. I'm nervous. I hate getting behind the podium, but when asked for service and when asked to do this, we do. I'd be remiss to say an apology to Joni. Is Joni still here? She had to leave. I missed her talk because I was getting off work and coming here. But I've caught everybody else's. Kristen, phenomenal. Great. Loved it. Blake. Is Blake still here, or did he already leave for the birthday? Ah, fantastic. Fantastic. And then Laura. Powerful. Powerful. I love what you said. You open your hearts and you rip open your soul so others can see. So that's a little bit of what I'm going to do. So I'm going to tell you about experience, strength, and hope, right? That's what we're here. So I'm going to tell you about who I am, what I am. So I've got a little bit over 14 years, but that's not all it was. So whenever I grew up, I remember my first drink of alcoholism, or for alcohol, sorry. I wasn't an alcoholic yet, but many years later. But I remember being a young child, probably 3 to 4, maybe, I don't know. Born and raised in a farm ranch community, very small community. I think I got the other people's beat. I graduated with 13. I made top 10. But I remember being a young kid, and I remember having a pickup truck, and my dad changing water, so I had the pipe racks off the side and had a bench seat. And I remember him popping the top and having the phone come out, and I was able to get the phone, right? Now, that didn't make me an alcoholic, I promise you, okay? But that's my first time, so I didn't realize that until I started working steps with a sponsor later on, many decades later. So going through small farming community, about 300 people population, 299 as a matter of fact. I know that because I stole the sign. Still have it. But in this small town, we were a wet county. Every county around us was dry. So in this small town of 300 people, we had at one time 6 liquor stores. So alcohol was there. It was not difficult for us to get alcohol. Had no problem getting it, consuming it. But I grew up on a farm ranch, and I was taught the value of hard work, right? I was taught what was right and wrong. I was growing up in Roman Catholic religion, brought to church, CCD, going through school, and then you have alcohol on top of it. So here I am in my budding teens, going through, probably had a couple drinks here and there, but nothing major at this point, no consequences, right? So I'm going through my high school years and starting to go out in this small community. This is way before cell phones came out, way before technology and gaming and all this stuff and computers. So you always met at the community hall, and that's what you did, right? We met in the community hall, popped the tailgate, opened the cooler, and that's what you did. But you always did that after you worked. So you work all day and play all night. So I learned I could play as hard as I wanted as long as my work got done. And I'm the youngest of the family, so by the time I came along, I'm sure my parents were probably just tired and they said, make it home alive. I distinctly remember at one point they said, be home at 10. She didn't say p.m. And then that started a history and a trend. So by the time I'm going through my senior year, we're pros at drinking. We're pros at hiding from the cops. In the small town that we had one little cop that came in every once in a while. Well, he got off duty at 2, so we just picked him up after he got off duty, and he drank with us until the sun rose. So, consequences still haven't hit yet. Start growing a little bit older. Here comes the women. Had one, ended up getting pregnant. Said it was mine, thought it was mine. Ultimately turned out it was not mine. Through that ordeal, it taught me one thing. Now, it's not what I think today, but I took from that of I am only in it for one thing and one thing only. Whatever emotional attachment that another girl of the opposite sex wants, it doesn't matter to me. And I took that with me for a lot of years. So then we go through every night, my senior year, God bless my mother, she's here in the audience tonight, and my father putting up for me. Because I can promise you the fear and torment of not knowing if their son's going to come home alive or not tortured them. Had to. As a parent today, it would absolutely devastate me. So for that, I have to owe a living amends to not do that and to be a good student. So going through my high school career, I remember probably one of the most disappointing things, and I don't know if my mother remembers this or not, but, we come to graduation. Well, that's just debauchery, right? I mean, hey, here we go. So I go on a 3-day tear. I haven't made it home at all. I don't even know if I showered. Here I am throwing on my graduation gown, coming up to the ceremony. I'm 3 sheets to the wind, but I'm a functioning drunk, so I can make it work, and I can make it act like I have it together. But I remember my mother looking me in the eyes, and she knew. She knew. And it was that disappointment, right? She had enough Al-Anon in her life to understand that now that was probably not the right time and the place, but I could see the disappointment in her. And I harbored that with me for a long time, but I didn't do anything with it. Because by the time I graduated high school, the only thing I wanted to do was to drink and drink more. And wherever I can go to get it, I'm going to get it. But I'm starting to get the heat. So I need to get out of town, so college sounds like a great opportunity for me to get. Lo and behold, I go into college, and I go into Clarendon Junior College and walk in my very first night. Registered and everything else, I'm staying in the dorms, here I go. Stop off at a friend's house, obviously, to have a few, take off the edge before I actually go. Pull up into the dorms, walking in, it's about 2:30, 3 o'clock in the morning, and here's a dude walking out, and he is about the same shape I am, and I'm like, hey, here we go. So that semester went very fast. I didn't attend a lot of the classes. I took a full load. Didn't attend a lot of classes, made a lot of parties. Come finals, have this great idea on Sunday, because I went home on the weekends, drove back Sunday night, usually about 2 in the morning. We meet up, drink till sun up, try to stumble to our classes. But this night was different. He's like, hey, let's go to Mexico. Finals are on Monday. This is Monday morning, 2 a.m. Sure, let's go. That's what we do. Right? Because in my alcoholism, that's what we do. We have no reserve of the consequences that we're facing. We tear off to Mexico. I'm a blackout drinker to a point. Whenever I get into Mexico, we wake up Wednesday morning somehow back in Del Rio. I don't know how. I finally have that moment of clarity of coming to. It's like, oh crap, we got finals. So I have the teacher's number, so here I am. I'm calling them on the way. It's like, hey, I'm on my way. I give some kind of story. I don't even know what kind of story it was. Who knows? They liked me, I guess. I have enough personality. They liked me. Oh, you just come on in whenever you get back. You can take your test, and it'll be all right. Well, I did, and it wasn't all right. I got asked to not come back the next semester, and that's okay. So then what do? Right? My money's ran out from paying for college, partying for an entire semester, so I go to work. Because that's one thing I learned. I know how to work. Remember, I told you I'm a functioning alcoholic. Amen. On the outside, I can make it seem like I've got it all together. I know responsibilities. I know how to show up on time. I know how to put in a full day's work. But also, whenever work's over, now it's party time. So we go through that. I jumble through a couple jobs. My brothers have an employment for me to come down here to Lubbock. He's like, come on down. I'm good with my hands. I can mechanic. We can all mechanic. So I come down to Lubbock, start mechanicking with them. And I end up working with a guy. All he ever wanted to do was be a fireman, and I didn't want to do anything to do with firemen. I didn't want anything, because I'm fixing everything those guys break. They're idiots. They're fools. Right? I don't want to be a fireman. And that's all this guy wants. After about 3 years of listening to this insatiable desire, I finally break down. There's a fire academy starting. I make the phone call the night before. Turns out I know the person heading it up. Worked with him for years. He says, I've been waiting for your call. Come on. So I start down that journey. Get through with all my certifications. Now I got to do an EMT class, blah, blah, blah. Get through all that. So now what I'm going to do with all this? So I start applying for jobs. Call up City Odessa. I go down there. They said, we'll have you. Come to work. Okay. So I load up. Now mind you, I am in my addiction. Right? I told you, I'm an alcoholic. At this point, there is no doubt. I don't even deny that I'm an alcoholic. I just am refusing to do anything about it. But mind you, I still got money in the bank. I've got a new job I'm fixing to start, so consequences don't matter. Here I am. Another geographical cure, right? Who's done a geographical cure? Did it work out for you? Here I am. No joke. Have an RV pickup. Drive down to Odessa. Park it in an RV park in town. Walking distance from a bar. Walking distance from a bar. Less than a 2-minute walk to the bar. First night I pull up that RV trailer, get it all hooked up. Man, I am here. Life is good. Get something to eat. Man, there's this bar right here. How convenient. First night, walk on down there, because I know now I'm a professional. I can't get caught with a DWI, so let's walk, right? Let's be cautious, right? I'm starting a new career. I got to give a good impression out there. I walk up into this bar, and I belly up to the bar, and here's a bar stool, and I've got a person coming out of the oil field in nothing but his blue overalls, covered with crude oil. Been in the pits working all day, probably at least a 16-hour shift. Here in about 30 minutes, a lawyer comes in with a suit and tie, sits to my right, and I'm just in khaki shorts, a t-shirt, and it's like heaven. I have arrived, right? That moment of clarity of, man, this is it, right? Because it doesn't matter what class you are. It don't matter if you come from the oil fields, you come from work, or you're coming from a lawyer's office. Man, we're all here in the party together, and here we go. Of course, they were buying, so it was awesome. Right? Walking distance from the bar every day. But the only thing I do know is every day I'm on shift, I'm working, I'm not drinking. I can hold it for 24 hours, right? Because that's my job, right? I told you I'm a functioning drunk. My world can be burning down around me, but as long as I'm at work, I'm okay, right? Because I'm not drinking. Doesn't mean I'm not crazy, but I'm not drinking. This soon fast forwards into my career where I'm getting off shift. It's 7 o'clock in the morning. Lo and behold, alcoholic community is in everywhere. There's beer and liquor sold in 7-Elevens. Well, how convenient is that? I can grab me a 6-pack on the way home after shift. 7 o'clock in the morning, by 10 o'clock, I'm already 3 sheets into the wind. I rock along with that a couple months, and I figure, well, Ronnie's going to run out, so I need to get a day off job, right? I need to get another job after my job. So I hook up with an individual. He said, can you work? I said, yep, here we go. So now I'm doing electrician work. My alcoholism's getting bad, to the point where I'm keeping fifths of whiskey underneath my seat so I can snag a pool during lunchtime. I don't recognize that my alcoholism's getting that bad, but it is, because guess what? I'm still a functioning drunk. I can still pay my bills, right? Even though I don't have that many bills, right? My RV's paid for. The only thing I do is lot rent. Guess where all the other money went? Alcohol. So we're going along. I meet a lot of good friends, a lot of great people in the organization that I work with, and I'm blessed to have them. Met the love of my life in the audience today. Decided to make her my wife. It's been great. It's been fantastic. The problem is, I'm still an alcoholic. And as long as I'm an alcoholic, I'm going to let the alcohol take me wherever alcohol wants to take me. And I have no choice. I have no choice. Once I start drinking, I cannot stop. I'm either going to pass out or die. I don't know either way. So early on, I told you in my childhood, popping the top, I remember being very, very young, sipping the foam off the top, but then it all of a sudden stopped. And growing up through my high school career, only thing I knew is Dad went to those A&A meetings. I didn't engage in what he was doing. I didn't know what it was. I just know he didn't drink and he went to the meetings. I didn't know what AA was. I had no clue. So we progressed through our marriage, and I'm who's ever had fun with alcohol? I mean, come on. Yeah. Loved it. Absolutely. Until it took over. But I didn't know where that line was. And to this day, working sponsorship and doing all the step work, I still can't tell you when I crossed over that line. I can't tell you that defining moment of when it changed from fun to necessity. I can't tell you that. But what I can tell you is it became the rapacious creditor, as the big book talks about in the 12 and 12, right? It will bleed us dry. It will take me to the links of insanity. I didn't know these things. I had no idea. So I'm married. We're fortunate and blessed. We have a child. Things come to head February 22nd. Things got ugly. She's tired of it, and I don't blame her. She wants a better husband that actually pays attention, will actually come home, will actually be a part of a family. And I get it. So during that evening, I'm just, whoa, it's me. Oh my God, what am I going to do? And she's taking the kid and she's gone. I don't know what to do. But the only thing that came to my mind was I need to call my dad, because he goes to those A&A meetings. It's the only thing I knew what to do. So here I am, I'm on my phone, and I'm calling Dad, and I don't even know what time it was, but it's probably late. I don't know, 11, 12, I don't even know. Snot rockets rolling, I mean tears bellying, and I need to stop, I don't know what to do. And here's my dad, and I have no idea what to expect, except for he says, well, hang up this phone and call me back in 10 minutes if you're serious on Quentin. What? Here I am, your son, calling you on the throes of my emotional binge, and you're telling me to hang up and call you back. How rude. How rude. For the next 10 minutes, that's the only thing I could think about. It's the only thing I could think about. But see, I didn't know what was going on behind the scenes. I didn't know what was happening. Later, I come to find out that my father 12-stepped me. And here's how he did it. He knew he couldn't help me. The sign down here, it says, I am responsible. When anyone reaches out for help, let the hand of AA. This is what my father does. He starts making phone calls, starts calling people. Lo and behold, he starts getting information and numbers from somebody that's locally in Odessa where I live. I call him back in 10 minutes, expecting like, oh son, it's going to be okay, it's fine, you know. She'll come back, it'll be fine, life is good. I'm sorry I made you call me back, and right, I'm expecting all of this, right? I'm expecting this like huge apology because that's what I expect. Because how dare you hang up on me in the moment of my crisis? I call him back. He says, here, I got a number. You're going to call this gentleman. There's a meeting tomorrow night, and you will meet him there. Yes, sir. Because at this point, I'm broken. At this point, I am emotionally done. I am physically done. I'm about to lose everything. The love of my wife is gone. My kid is gone. I'm already having troubles with work. They're not to the point of firing me yet, but they're getting pretty darn close. They're tired of my crap. So here I am. I'm in a first meeting. I go. I have no idea what to expect. They're renovating the group that I go to, and they were meeting at a church, and I'm like, oh my gosh, okay, here we go. That's all I need is God. I go into this church and I go into this meeting, and there's a room, and it's round tables, and there's about 5 tables in there, and there's about 15 people in there. My wife's with me. There's an Al-Anon meeting in there, and they kind of grabbed her up and kind of took her off, and I went into the AA room, and she went into the Al-Anon room, and I was like, okay, here we go. And so I started hearing some things that I needed to hear. First meeting. Meeting makers make it. I get it. Meeting makers make it. Work the steps. Get a sponsor. Read the big book. Get a notepad. Start writing. Pen and paper. Do your steps. As a good practicing alcoholic, do you think I did any of that? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Remind you, I sobered February 23rd, 2011, and that July, about 4 months later, I am a dry drunk. I am dry. I'm not drinking, but I can promise you I'm not cured. I am absolutely 100% crazy. You can ask my wife, I assure you. I am doing things that I had never thought that I would be doing or saying in my life. And the only thing I'm doing is what they say, make meetings. And I'm making a lot of meetings. But I am crazy. To the point I want to put a bullet in my head. It's taken me to that level to understand that I am an alcoholic. I can't deal with it anymore. What I had to come to understand is alcohol is a symptom of my disease. As long as I had alcohol, I could shut the world off. I didn't have to deal with the world's problems. I didn't have to deal with my problems, my wife's problems, my kids' problems, my work's problems. It shut it off. But what do you do whenever you can't drink? So here I am, we're coming up on July, and in July in my hometown, there's a festival. A few thousand of our friends show up to party for about 3 days. And I'm going to this. And I remember finally that ultimate surrender whenever I stood up in a meeting and I asked a gentleman to be my sponsor because I knew I couldn't make it. I knew in the heart of hearts that I couldn't make it. If I went to this without any armor on me, I was going to drink. And I had come to realize to drink is to die. Whether that be by the bullet because I'm a dry drunk, or that be me drinking and killing myself. Either way. So I meet this gentleman, and once again, makes me mad because I tell him the scenario and he just laughs. I mean, get real, right? Here I am again in my emotional turmoil, and you're just laughing, saying, "Oh, son, it'll be all right. Here's what you do. Get a styrofoam cup. What's your best soda pop that you like?" "I don't know. I picked Big Red." He's like, "Okay, perfect. You get a styrofoam cup. You buy 3 cases of Big Red. You keep it full of ice, you keep it full of Big Red, and whenever somebody asks you if you need a drink, you say, 'No, I'm good.'" He's like, and I was like, "That's it?" He's like, "Yeah, that's it. Call me every day." You're crazy. Here I go, he sends me on down, and we're going, and things are tense, and I don't know what's going to happen, and lo and behold, I'm just doing the only thing that I had clear direction on. Keep my cup full of Big Red and say, "No, I don't need a drink, I'm full." That's the only direction I knew to take, and that's what I did. Made it through that weekend, came back. He said, "All right, you ready to start?" I said, "Yes, I'm willing." See, it took me to that immoral decomposition that I had to get to understand I am an alcoholic. I am an alcoholic. For me to drink is to die. It took me to that point of despair. We talk about the 4 horsemen, right? It took me to those dark places that I don't want to go to. But I had to take me there for me to understand I am an alcoholic. Step 1. Of course, I fought my sponsor all the way. I'm not an alcoholic. He said, "Okay. What problems is alcohol given to you, right? If you have a good sponsorship, he's going to make you get a pen and paper, and he's going to make you do some writing. He's going to make you read. He's going to make you describe things, and he's going to make you put stuff down in writing. And then you're going to cover it with them." Well, after about a page of things I wrote, nobody else wrote them for me. I wrote them. He's like, "If that doesn't describe what an alcoholic is, I don't know what to tell you. Maybe you need to go out and get some more." I said, "Oh, no, I'm good." He said, "I'm not a fool, right? I can go in. I'm fairly intelligent. Sometimes I'm ignorant on a lot of things, but I'm fairly intelligent. My first meeting, I can read your 12 steps you have on the wall. By the time I'm leaving my 3rd meeting, I'm already working on 9. Come on. Let's go. I've already done my moral inventory over here. It's like, yep, some bad stuff. Yep, it's good. All right, moving on. Here we go. Do I believe God? Yeah, I believe God. Okay, blah, blah, blah. Here we go. Moving on. Started working with my sponsor, going to step 3. Step 3 for me was very, very hard. It was hard for me to understand of God and my understanding, right? 1, 2, and 3. Came to, and then came to believe. See, I had a problem with believing. Now, I was born and raised in a Roman Catholic religion, and all religions teach this, right? You have heaven and hell, and if you do bad, you're going to go to hell, and if you do good, you'll end up going to heaven, right? Well, by the time I am working these steps, I've already done volumes of bad, very little good in my mind. So what's the point? I'm going to hell anyway. So I had a problem with understanding that God would come down and help me. I had to get through that. Step 3 took me a long time. A lot of writing, a lot of praying, and a lot of reading. But once my sponsor said, quit fighting. He says, do you believe it can happen? Yep. He said, that's good, let's move on. As guiding me through the steps, we go through step 4, doing our moral inventory, right? Somebody, I can't remember if it was Laura, you had mentioned something about, just write the people you're pissed off at. Because I stalled out for about a month with my sponsor, like, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do with step 4. Poor me. Finally, he sat me down in his living room. He's like, we've been going back and forth for 3 weeks now. Sit down right now. Write everything you're pissed off at. Okay. People, places, and things. Here we go. And then that started my journey through the 4th step. See, before coming into the rooms of Alcoholics Anonymous, I could have told you, and I would have been honest and sincere with you, that I was a fine, upstanding, God-fearing, loving person and a good moral character. I would have told you that, and I wouldn't have been lying because I believed it. I believed it. It wasn't until I thoroughly did my 4th step with my sponsor that I found out that I was nothing but a liar, cheat, and a thief. Talk about a slap in the face, right? Because I'm a functioning drunk. I still got to go to work. I'm still paying the bills, right? I still got the wife, the kid, the house, the car, the garage, the jobs, right? What do you mean? No, I'm a liar, cheat, and a thief. And for me to look at that step 4 for me was obliterating. Talk about an ego deflation, right? Nothing more than your step 5, covering it with my sponsor. Oh my gosh. And I can promise you, as a good practicing alcoholic going through the steps, there's some stuff I left off on my first 4th step, right? Who's all done a proper 4th step the first time, right? I can promise you left something off going into your 5th step. I did. I'm not here to lie to anybody. I'm here to tell you the truth, my experience. Going through my 5th step, he started explaining some of his stuff. Then I started going through my stuff. I started talking and talking and talking and talking. And before I know it, 2.5, 3 hours later, I am still talking, and I don't even know where this crap is coming from at this point. But the one thing that's going to go to the grave with me, guess what? It comes out. As a good sponsor does, catches on to it immediately. He's like, we got to work on this. Here we go. How free do you want to be? How free do you want to be? Then we go into 6 and 7 right off the bat, right? My sponsor believes in continuous work, right? But I'm fighting him every step of the way. I don't have character defects. Yeah, I'm looking at my moral inventory. I'm a liar, cheat, and a thief, right? Looking at that last column that it talks about, what was my part in everything? What part did I play in those situations? What damage did I bring to the table? Did I lead with ego? Did I lead with resentment? Did I lead with promiscuity? Did I lead with fear? Any good practicing alcoholic, I'm sure you have a lot of fears, because that was my number one character defect. I was scared of everything. As a good alcoholic, who's ever laid at night all night long with the squirrel cage going on in your head and it never stops? It never stops. What if this? What if this happens? What if I do this? then this will happen, then this will happen. Then if I do this, then maybe they'll do this, and then this, and then this, right? We're talking about the actor on the stage that he talks about in the big book. If everybody would just do what I want you to do, things will go good. Hello? Unfortunately, I had to come to a realization that the world doesn't revolve around Quentin. So through my steps 7 and 8, we start, step 7, we start working on those character defects, right? Now, whenever I say working on them, we're defining them, and then we're highlighting them in my day-to-day action of when they creep up. Am I fearful of someone else? Am I fearful of my job? Am I fearful of losing my wife? Am I fearful of breaking ties? Am I fearful of all of the things that can process through a day? And I find out that it's the boogeyman. But they're still there. See, the things that go on in an alcoholic's mind is unexplainable except to another alcoholic. So we're going through all these fears, and I'm starting to identify them to the day, but I'm not doing anything about it. I'm still doing my own normal stuff, right? I'm trying a different way, but sometimes it just doesn't resort, and sometimes it's just you're getting the yelling and screaming, and that's just the way it is. So then we get into 8 and 9. We're talking about those amends, right? And I had a long talk with this one because I had a lot of amends to make. And one of them, he had to sit me down and he said, look, do you understand what amends is? I said, yeah, it's going to people and telling you're sorry, right? Whenever we first started. That's what he said. That's what I told him. And I don't know. Yeah, it's going. He's like, nobody wants your sorry ass sorry. They've heard it 1,000 times. They don't need any more of it. See, step 9 is talking about the ability to meet an individual on their plane, to pay back restitution for harms done. What do you mean pay back? I got to pay back money? He says you got to be willing to pay back anything that you took from them individuals. Emotional, physical, financial. You have to be willing to go to any length to get it. And I fought him on this, on a lot of things. And he said, and he kept on telling me, how free do you want to be? Because if you skimp on any one of these, then you're as sick as your secrets. So I started off on my step 9s, and obviously you make a couple easy ones, and then there's some tough ones. But every step 9 I made was an absolute blessing. An absolute blessing. Not all of them went great, but a lot of them were overwhelming. Overwhelming to the sense of saying, keep doing what you're doing. You're going to go somewhere someday. So then I start going into the meetings, and at this time I've got about 9 months of sobriety at this point, and getting up to my 1 year anniversary in AA. And I'm nervous. I don't know why, but between that 9-month stretch and that 12-month stretch, I don't know what happens. But it almost crucified me. I almost stopped working it. I almost left before the miracle happened. I almost did. Thank God I have good sponsorship that kept me grounded. Thank God I had an individual that I could pick up the phone whenever that squirrel cage is going 1,000 miles an hour and I can't shut it off, but I can't talk to anybody else because I don't want to expose my emotional tragedy on others. I have an avenue to call. And he walked me through those things. So we get through our step 9 and we're coming up on 12 months, and there's a conference that he goes to. I didn't know this until after the fact. I didn't know this. He's been going to this conference. That's a good drive. He's been going to it for probably 15 plus years. hasn't missed a year, ever. Birthday night rolls around, he misses that conference to be at my home group to give me my 1-year chip. The miracle. The miracle. And then as a good sponsor does, he gives me clear defining directions. Hey, you got a year sober. Guess what? Wednesday night, you're chairing the meeting. All right, okay. Sounds good. 13 years running, I'm still chairing the Wednesday night meeting at Suburban Group. If you ever find yourself in Odessa, Texas on Wednesday night at 8 p.m., I'll be glad to have you. So then we get into step 10, right? That's a part of our daily reflections, right? Where we can pause during the day when agitated. We take a daily ledger of what our day's accomplishments were. We talk about our assets and our liabilities, right? And we're talking about those character defects. Did I have a situation sometime today that I caused somebody anger? Did I cause somebody emotional turmoil? Did I lie, cheat, and steal with somebody? Did I get angry? Did I get upset? Did I try to dominate a conversation? Did I try to overrule with my fist instead of my intelligence? What did I do today that caused anybody harm? And then I got to look at that squarely. So then after many, many months of beating my head against a brick wall and doing immediate amends, right? Because that's what we're talking about. You're talking about your step 10. If I made somebody angry, then I am to blame. I've got to do some step work on that, and then I got to owe that person an amends, right? I got to pay back that restitution. I got tired of beating my head against a brick wall whenever all sometimes I have to do is keep my mouth shut. You know how many months and years it took me to understand that if I just sometimes step out of the situation, ask God for his forgiveness, ask God for his blessing and his decision in whatever turmoil is going on, I can pause my emotional turmoil, and now I'm not reacting. Because whenever I react, when provoked, it's ugly. I'm not going to lie. It's ugly. I'll fight you tooth and nail. I'll call you every name in the book. But I try to be better. So through my step 10, I find those situations in my daily life that keeps me grounded in AA. Because I can promise you, as much as our 1 month is hurting today, I need to see that. I need to be in the rooms of Alcoholics Anonymous to understand and remember what the pain was like. Because I'm far removed at this point from the taste of alcoholism. I don't have the desire to drink on a minute-to-minute basis. But I need to see the individuals sitting in the room that are struggling and praying every minute by minute by minute to just don't let me drink now. I need to understand where that was because I was there. And I never want to go back because I've got the gift of alcohol and the gift of AA. Good sponsorship, coming into the rooms, doing step work, working with others. So then we move on into 11. Conscious contact with that God of my understanding. Here I am. If you can only imagine, I'm fighting my sponsor on this one too. How do I understand God better? He says, well, how do you talk to God now? I said, I don't know. I don't know how to do this. See, going through the steps, I had an individual that taught me some simple prayers. For the first time in my life with another human being was the first and the only time that I ever felt God come into my life whenever I was sitting in a room talking with a sponsor that knows every dark secret about me. and we kneel together and we hold hands and we say a third step prayer. You talk about the power of God entering you. If you don't have the God and the power of the God that enters you on that, well, wait, there's a 7th step prayer you're going to do the same thing with. And if you still don't get it by 7, guess what? Step 11, you got it. So step 11 comes in and he kneels and I kneel and we grab hands and I recite the 11th step prayer out loud. He said, now I want you to go home and talk to God as a friend. He says, I need you to understand God is with you every day. And I practice that every single day. Now I'm a firm believer that God walks with me every single day. I can see the miracles in my life that God provides me without me doing anything. I just have to be awake enough to understand the gifts he's given. I know I'm going to go on a story here, and I don't usually normally do this. But in my career and in my job, I have advanced pretty well. I've done well for myself from the power of Alcoholics Anonymous and the power of God of my understanding and the family and the support that I have. I've progressed. I pull up on a scene that's very chaotic. I'm to the point now where all eyes fall on me for answers. What do you want to do? How do you want us to do this? How do you want to do that? What should we do here? And ultimately, here I am there for a brief moment, not too long ago. Well, we're going to do this. This is all about me. This is my decision. This is what we're going to do. And by gosh, we're going to make this happen. But by the grace of God, it worked. Started talking with my sponsor several months after a couple of these events happened. And he said, don't you think you got a little bit of ego leading ahead of you? He said, you wouldn't have any of this if it wasn't for God in your life. You wouldn't be sober. You wouldn't be in the position that you're in. Hell, you wouldn't even have the career that you have if it wasn't by the grace of God. Dropped me to my knees. Talk about humility. Great thing about humility, you can find it anywhere, anytime. That's what keeps me coming back, because if I don't have moments of humility in my life, my ego starts taking charge. Once my ego starts taking charge, then there's no stopping. Then we get into step 12, working with others, right? Having had this spiritual awakening. If you have done a thorough step work with a sponsor who has a sponsor that's done step work, I can promise you, you're going to have a spiritual awakening if you have done it right. See, thank God I had a good sponsor that pulled the stuff that I didn't put on my original 4th step. Thank God I had a good sponsor that knew it was going to come out of the 5th step, and he kept asking. He kept asking and digging and pulling, and then it all came out. Thank God I had good sponsorship. Thank God I had people in my life that gave me direction. Sometimes it was simple. I remember coming into the rooms early on, right before I got a sponsor. The only thing I know is meeting makers make it. That's true. It's 100% true. But for how long? You're not going to make it in AA if you don't do step work with a sponsor and do the work outlined in the first 164 pages. That's my sponsor. He says the only thing we need is the first 164 pages. We're not going to do anything else. And that's all you need. So getting into step 12, we're talking about working with others. I believe Blake hit on it earlier, right? Talking about sponsoring other people and doing all this work, and woe, it's me, they're not staying sober, and what am I doing wrong, and oh my gosh, another one went out to drink, and I'm working, and oh my gosh, what is happening? Finally, I guess my sponsor finally just got fed up with it, and he said, are you still sober? I said, well, yeah. He's like, good, it's working. Get out there and get you another one. All right, here we go. Here we go. But I'm telling you, the miracle of the program, in my opinion only, is whenever you're working with another alcoholic, with the 4 horsemen on their tails, death is literally at their doorstep. Their lives are falling apart. Whenever there is no light behind a person's eye, you can get in there and you can lay hold of some simple principles outlined in the first 164 pages, and you can change an individual's lives. You can do of service to an individual without anything in repayment. Whenever you can work with an individual and get them through the steps and pull stuff out on the 5th step that you know they didn't put on the 4th step, because guess what? I did it. And then you walk them through the processes, and slowly you start an individual that was just nothing but a black void start to have some light and color in their eyes. Start to find joy and hope in an otherwise bewildered land. You know, whenever you can actually find commonalities with another alcoholic that has similar stories, a similar background, the same 164 pages that we're working in, a notebook and a pen, that's all you need. But my sponsor makes it very clear the only step we have to do is always understand step 1. We never forget step 1. We are powerless over alcoholism. See, with a little bit of time in sobriety, a lot of character defects, right? You work on them. That's the process, right? You work on those fears. You work on those resentments. You do things better. I'm not perfect. I promise you. I have made many, many mistakes in alcoholism. But I promise you, I'm trying to get better every day. But whenever you're working the steps, never lose sight of step 1. I'm powerless over alcohol. See, because if I'm coming into the meetings and I'm doing what I'm supposed to with my sponsor, and I'm actually doing a service to my sponsee, then I'm staying engaged with alcoholics. I'm staying in touch with the emotions. I'm staying in tune with what it means to be happy, joyous, and free. At this point in my time, I'm happy, joyous, and free, and I heard this before, and I say it again. Just how free do you want to be? Do you want to be an isolated individual stuck in your room, ultimately with no social contact, no interactions with anybody else, ultimately leading to a dismal expiration of your life? Or do you want to be free, willing to go and do anything that you please? Talk with anybody that you want to. Go anywhere that you want to. Be around any events that you want to. How free do you want to be? How much work do you want to put into it? Is how much work you're going to get out. You know, for me, the blessings of Alcoholics Anonymous has come. I'll never forget, before we got in, my sponsor had me write down, as a good sponsor does, what I want out of life, what I want out of sobriety. And that night, before we even started in the steps, he said, you'll have this threefold. 5 years later, we were talking about that list. And I said, you lied to me. I said, because it's tenfold. And all I had to do was suit up and show up. Be of service. When the hand of AA reaches out, I want to be there and I want to make myself available. An old timer once told me one time, he said, it's not just sobering up. He said, you have to carry yourself in all your affairs because you might be the only big book someone else reads. Think about that. That means whenever I'm in office, shop, wherever I'm at, I've got to conduct myself in a manner that if somebody out there is suffering from alcoholism, they can see a representation of what AA is supposed to be. And the only way I would have gotten that is through the rooms of Alcoholics Anonymous. from another drunk helping another drunk. And that's the program of Alcoholics Anonymous. You know, for me, it's I don't know. I ain't got times. All the blessings, right? We talk about page 83, you know, the promises. Who all knows the promises? Raise your hand. I can promise you they come true. If you work the steps with a sponsor who's worked the steps, you do pen to paper, those promises will come true. But you got to put in the work. It's not easy. It's not easy sobering up. It hurts. It's not easy making amends. It's not easy looking at your moral inventory. It is not easy doing your step work. But the rewards are vast. And without that, I wouldn't be on this stage today talking with you. You know, friends in AA are numerous. Just like that night, whenever I needed the hand of AA was able to work through my father to give me contact with an individual where I could get sober. And without that blessing, I wouldn't be here. I wouldn't be your speaker, because I can promise you, I would either still be out there in the addiction or I'd be dead. And y'all wouldn't know who I am. You know, the many blessings in the rooms of Alcoholics Anonymous, the friendships, the service. The service is what keeps you coming back. Right? I didn't know my sponsor was telling me I'm chairing the Wednesday night meeting. I didn't know what that meant until a few years later of, oh yeah, no, this is you. You are. It's like, can I pass it on? She's like, no. No, this is yours. You own it. Then he gets me involved in a convention work. Oh my gosh. What do you mean? All right, I'll show up. I'll do some of these convention works. Then it comes, well, hey, they elect me to be the chairman of the convention one year. I don't know why. So here I am, chairman of the committee. And through the convention as a chairman, you're kind of the host, the speaker, right, the announcer, and you're saying all this. And I had the wonderful pleasure. One of the many miracles in my program was my mother and father. They showed up to that convention. During this convention, we celebrate people with 20 plus years of sobriety. And it just so happened to be, it was their anniversary. So as a sober member of Alcoholics Anonymous, I feel one of my responsibilities at that moment, at that time, was to announce their sobriety and their anniversary. What a gift. To them, it may not mean anything. To me, it was the world. Because if I wouldn't have done what the program and the people in the rooms of Alcoholics Anonymous suggested me to do, because you're right, I have a choice. I don't have to work the steps. I don't have to get better. I don't have to do anything. But if I want a better life, if I want a better God of my understanding, and if I want to be a better service to the people around me, then I will come to Alcoholics Anonymous. I will work the steps, and I will work with my sponsor, and I will sponsor individuals. Through that, the many blessings, just as I mentioned, I was able to recognize my mother and father with their years of sobriety and their anniversary. What a blessing. It still doesn't, to me, it still doesn't make up for what I did from still in her graduation. But at least I hope it's a part. And you know, I wouldn't have learned that without doing my step work, you know. Thank God for the rooms of Alcoholics Anonymous, and thank God for good sponsorship. I don't know what else to say. I'm good. Oh, looky there. I am at 59 minutes. Perfect. I want to thank y'all for inviting me to share, and I hope y'all have a wonderful conference. Thank you.